There is a war happening for your mind. A battle that's gone on for a long time. You might think, I'm too smart for that. I'm aware of it. Or something to that matter. But that's not the part of the mind that is wanted dominion over. The battle is over control of your subconscious, and if successful, would hijack your entire reality. And maybe already has. Often talk and research into consciousness either focuses on our awareness and active part of our consciousness, leaving out the subconscious entirely, or focuses on the subconscious or automatic actions the brain produces. In reality, the subconscious is one half of consciousness. It is the duality to the awakened side, to the active side, to the one interacting directly with the awakened world. While it's thought of to be separate, it is the yin to the yang of consciousness, and in reality, is the source of all your power. The subconscious mind is really the operating system behind consciousness. It is tasked with running all the systems of the body we inhabit, breathing, making sure your heart is beating, moving your limbs when needed, etc. It operates mostly unconsciously, or without our awareness of it. It contains our memories, or access to our memories. Each experience we have had in our lives imprinted on the subconscious, and it adapts with each experience, incorporating that into the operating system. Awareness and awakened consciousness could be regarded as the application, running off the operating system, and it could be said to be limited to what the operating system has been built with. The subconscious does all the work for us, allowing us to be aware of our surroundings, interact, imagine, wonder, converse, create with our waking mind. It takes care of all the tasks that our awakened mind does not have the capacity to or cannot do. It will do the analysis of situations for you when you think. The answers will come to you from the subconscious brain, and then you can discern this information on whether it's valid or not for the situation. At least, that's supposed to be what happens. This dual nature to consciousness is confusing, and unfortunately, humans don't come with a user manual or an adequate training mode level. We have to discover this process all on our own, and many don't even ever think about it. We don't know about input and output into this operating system. We only tend to think of things in one direction. Thoughts arrive, actions go out. Our subconscious is there to help regulate our emotions, our bodies, and our processes. It does this by building a model of the world based on our observations, sensations, and the totality of our experiences. What we don't tend to think about is the opposite direction, that what we send to the subconscious is of paramount importance. If we were living in paradise, none of this would be an issue. There'd be no danger, evil, or bad things. We could let our subconscious do its thing, and we could spend days and nights frolicking, reading, enjoying nature, conversing, and indulging in pleasure and comfort. However, we don't live in paradise, far from it. And although our modern culture wants us to behave like we live in paradise, doing so causes immense pain and turmoil in our lives and in the world. What we experience imprints on the subconscious, often and most powerfully with emotions. The more intense the emotions, the bigger the imprint on our subconscious. This part of the brain, with the accumulated experiences and imprints, is really the ego, the identity of ourselves, or our id. This is the data center that sends you what it believes is the appropriate response in thoughts and actions, based off the experiences you've previously imprinted on it. It is making quick calculations in the background, and comparing the current moment with past experience. So let's say you've made a lot of bad relationship mistakes. You might think, well, it should tell me not to do those things because in the past it hurt you. But in reality, if you don't have good choices you've given your subconscious, it's unlikely to have the opportunity to give you a proper option. It may give you a different response to a situation rather than helping you identify that the person themselves is the thing you should be getting away from. The limits of the subconscious is really context. It has no context, so it will either produce fear and anxiety at something threatening or bad or different happening to you, or comfort and pleasure when you're confronting something you're familiar with, even if it is bad for you. This is the very reason why people can become addicted or keep making bad choices. They simply don't have the experience of proper or good and beneficial choices, so they're caught in an endless loop. This is because the subconscious, though the operating system, cannot ultimately make the choice. That is left to the user experience, and thus the idea of where the power of manifesting change in your life comes to. For one can alter the operating system with their own input, rather than relying on simple external imprints. Our free will is really in our ability to veto what the subconscious is telling us to do in a situation, or how to feel in a situation. This power is often unknown or untrusted by so many of us, that it isn't really thought of. It's also become out of fashion for stories and culture to portray people and characters with this trait and ability, because it is what makes us powerful. It is the full story of what consciousness is. Because we are tied to this body here in 4D space, we must work with the subconscious, and our awakened consciousness is also formed and altered by these events as well. We cannot ignore the subconscious mind, but we can train it. If we looked at addiction, the subconscious mind tells us that it is receiving signals from our body that it needs a certain chemical. This process is designed to help us get our nutritional needs and regulate our body's health and well-being. But if we put in substance or have experiences that produce high levels of certain chemicals, we can produce a signal in the body that it needs these very chemicals when the levels drop. The operating system just alerts us. It is up to our waking mind to veto these signals and inform the subconscious that there is an error or a bug in the system, and to correct it. Often people struggle with this because it feels like the subconscious runs our lives, because it runs all the basic programs, and it sends us all these feedbacks and signals and suggestions and thoughts. It feels like it's the driving force in our lives, and much in our modern life reinforces this behavior. Most of our modern life is about handing over our waking mind to something else, where we have to either shut it down or we opt to shut it down ourselves. We can go into automatic mode when at work, where we shut down our awakened mind and let the subconscious dictate what we do, how we react. A lot of mundane jobs are designed just to do this. Media, and more recently social media, is designed to capture that awakened mind and distract it, keeping it from communicating to the subconscious mind and changing or altering it, preventing us from moving away from the things causing us more and more mundane, vacuous moments. TV was the medium that took us over the past 70 years. It sent out light waves that changed our brainwaves from beta, the thinking and active mode, to alpha waves, which is passive and lower state of brain function, i.e. the domain of the subconscious. Studies showed that even switching to reading a magazine after watching TV would revert our brainwaves back to beta and aware. Reading is one of the best activities one can do to foster this conscious and aware part of our brain. And reading can help imprint beneficial imprints on the subconscious mind or the ego. There's a few things that came from studies on our brains watching TV, such as internal alpha responses can be stimulated by external rhythms or frequencies. In studies done in 1969 by Herbert Krugman, he stated that the time may come when the mass media may create special programs to help people modify certain attitudes or behavior. I think we can all conclude that this wasn't a may, but did come. And thus, you can see the assault on your mind. This same study suggested that children with attention span disorders and fidgeting wasn't a result of bad parenting, but of this TV-induced subliminal perception and hypnotism. That mildly drugging of them, or training them, in this alpha state could help them in their education. He goes on to say, it is possible that the relaxed and successful character of passive learning can be enhanced by the artificial induction of alpha rhythm with this aid of a flickering light. So we know that there's been an attack on our minds, and that this attack is to shut down the higher faculties, or the awakened part of our mind. But who watches TV anymore? Now people are glued to their phones and devices. This is a whole other assault on our awakened mind. While many watch videos or play games, allowing the alpha waves to take over and distraction to overcome them, then there's also social media. Social media has been an all-out assault, and its subterfuge is there to hijack that reading switch to beta waves by injecting gaming into the user experience. Take for example Twitter, a primarily reading social media app. This should switch your brain from alpha waves to beta. However, social media added in the addiction element. that vastly outweighs any alpha/beta wave mentality. It directly hijacks your conscious mind by sending endorphins through your body when you get responses, likes, or trolls, or arguments. You get addicted to these rewards, and now, much like any other addiction, when you don't get these chemicals in your body, your subconscious urges you to replenish them. Social media brings another problem, and unlike TV, where if something doesn't interest you, it may tempt you to turn it off and go do something else, social media has an algorithm designed to keep you in a perpetual loop of attention-grabbed, dopamine-addicted zombification. In many ways, social media has been the perfect weapon against your brain, against your consciousness. It keeps you ensnared and addicted. It distracts you and feeds you what you want to see over and over and over and over again, because it learns from what you do with your addiction. It's like having a drug dealer in your hand giving you free hits every time you crave them. And it's extra insidious because it gives you an illusion of being a part of the machine. You can get a following, an audience, and you can become part of the national conversation, even though it's very unlikely you will. And if you do it, it will either be because you're doing something to help to propagate the system, or it's for terrible reasons. If you took the subconscious away from our consciousness, it would drift off into other dimensions and reemerge into the ether with the greater consciousness from whence it came. The one thing that humanity has over an expanded consciousness, and could be why, if we were to take the concept of higher levels of existence into account, that we are put into these meat bags with the subconscious. For without the subconscious, we wouldn't be able to create or know how to create or what creation really means. The subconscious mind is a dual-edged sword. It gives us a context and ability to put into action our creative powers through action. However, it is a dark side in which if we do not control our minds and learn this ability, then we are doomed to the negative consequences an unchecked reality may give us. If we allow our subconscious to play unfettered in our dream state, imagine what you could produce in the world if you were able to release and guide your subconscious mind rather than how we tend to do the opposite. And that power is a great threat to some. Okay, now it's time for me to hear from you. What do you think? Leave a comment below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell. It really helps a small channel like this. And thank you so much for watching, and please stay safe.